Password is not changing. Password is the same.
Yeah.
It is saying password is not changing.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunatu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Om Sahana Vavatu Shanti Sahano Bhunatu Sahaviryam Karavavahai. So we will continue from where we left last time. As you know, this is the alternate Saturday class on a very important subject, Vedanta and the science of human possibilities. So just to recapitulate, we just saw the need for understanding what are the possibilities that we can explore as far as our personality is concerned. This is a very important topic because Vedanta is not just a philosophy which is to be understood, heard, understood, and studied. It's a philosophy which has to be applied in our day-to-day life. And when we apply that philosophy, it results in a transformation of the personality, not as we know it from the Western point of view, because from the Western point of view, it is the body and the mind which can be trained to achieve certain skills and achieve a certain purpose in life. If you go to Western theology also, I mean Western religions based on the Abrahamic religions, where soul is almost equated with the mind. When you say the human personality is bipartite, means it has two parts. One is the body and another is the soul. The soul includes the mind. Whereas in Vedanta, the fundamental difference is that it is a tripartite personality. That means it's made of three constituents or three parts. That is the fundamental difference between the Vedantic understanding of a human being and the other religions. Though if you go deep into the teachings of the prophets of different religions, you will find there is enough proof to show that they also believed in a spirit apart from our mind. But very often it is confused with the mind. So when they say the spirit, they mean something else. Whereas when Indians or Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism, the philosophies which are, and Sikhism of course, when we talk of a human personality, we speak of three levels of existence: the physical, the mental, and the vital. That is, those are the three gross levels of existence. Of course, the gross level is only the body, but the life forces that run the body are also included. We call it prana. So that way we have further divided these three levels of existence or three levels of our personality into five, which is worth remembering every time when we speak of Vedanta. We have to remember that there are certain terminology which is associated, whether we read the Gita or Upanishads or any of the Vedantic texts, or for that matter, even the Buddhist texts. They always say that there is a mind behind the body and there is a spirit or the soul which is even beyond that. So what is the spirit? What is the nature of that spirit or the soul? That is the nature of consciousness, which we get a glimpse when we explore the human possibilities. When the human possibilities are explored, we start with the physical. It is worth remembering because it's a gradual evolution. Human beings don't evolve all of a sudden. Even a small child has to be told how to use the higher levels of existence which he possesses. The mind takes a lot of time to develop certain skills, even to walk, the physical skills. A child learns through so much of such a long struggle, even to walk. We do not understand. Even to know how to use the prana, the life forces, to handle the body so that it maintains a certain kind of harmony with the external environment. It is such a difficult struggle even for a child, and it becomes equally difficult when you grow old. You lose that sense. The body is no longer sharp. The mind may be sharp, the body does not. The life forces become weak. So we know that this different levels of existence when human being explores. Normally, according to the modern biological sciences, when we talk of education, we mean certain skills of the reactive mind which are trained so that we are far superior than animals. That's the only thing we do. Education, that means we develop certain skills. These skills can be analytical skills, musical skills. Sometimes there are these 8 or 9 types of intelligence which which is spoken of. I mean, it's not just the analytical skills that make you intelligent. There are other skills, visual skills, which can give rise to architecture and other artists. Then there are musical skills. So they speak of multiple intelligence. Intelligence has been in the West. I mean, modern psychologists try to explain it in terms of different levels of intelligence, but they believe that all these 9 skills are enough to explain a human being. So they say a person may not be very intelligent academically, but he may have certain skills which can make him a great sportsman, make him a great poet, make him a great artist, or a great, you can say, social worker, where he is using his intrapersonal and interpersonal skills. These are the other 2 types of intelligences which are studied in a great deal. You know, some politicians, some activists, they have wonderful intrapersonal skills. They may not be academically so intelligent, but they know how to deal with people, how to manipulate people for their selfish ends or maybe for unselfish ends. But still, those are skills which are normally thought of as human possibilities. So when you say of a person is exploring the human possibilities, in the West, it simply means exploring or developing these 9 skills as they have divided. They have Howard Gardner was the one who first said that how do you calculate the IQ? Because it's many times the method with which we calculate the IQ is not the correct method, because he said, why don't you should account for the other skills. A person may not be analytically competent. He may not have analytical skills, but he may have managerial skills, how to deal with people, how to get things done. So skills, he said, a person who can has a skill to manipulate his body and become a sportsman is as good as a IT software professional. Only thing, the skills differ. So when you speak of human possibilities, normally in our day-to-day life, people think these are the only skills, and the end and aim of life is to develop these skills so that we can reach what we call normally as success in life. So for us, our success means to excel in our profession and do something which makes us much better than other human beings who are following the same profession in this world of competition. So that is all we understand normally when you say you should develop your human personality development. They are very commonly used words, but unfortunately, the development of the personality comes to a stagnation. Then what? Now you have become a wonderful professional, You have excelled in the science or excelled in the skill that you have developed, whatever skill, and you have become among the best in your particular skill, of one of these 9 skills. But Gita also talks of skill. Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta also talks of skill. So very often when you see the translation of a very important verse in Gita, a part of a verse, they define yoga as karmasu kaushalam. So people who are highly active, most of them are absolutely restless. They want to be active, they just can't sit. If you ask them to sit, it is a big punishment. Just to sit quietly, suppose they feel, oh, what a horrible punishment. They feel as if they are in jail. So for such people, they interpret this verse. When Gita, Krishna says, they say, oh, Krishna talks about, Bhagavad Gita talks about karma yoga only. In fact, some commentators have mentioned that. Political activists like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he said Gita is the karma rahasya. It only teaches you how to act. Because you see, the situation was a warlike situation. How to act so that your personality is enhanced, and that is why he quotes yoga karmasu kaushalam, excellence in work. So what do you mean by excellence in work? Arjun was there, he knew how to fight wars. He was a great general, he was one of the best during his times. So is that the goal of life? Is that yoga? That is the question that is being answered in the Gita, and also the Vedanta tries to answer these questions. And the answers are very often, depending on your idea of what human personality should be, or what human personality means to you, the possibilities are limited, because you have set a limit, upper limit to the possibilities that you can explore. Say, for example, you want to be the best general in the world, and Arjuna acted and trained himself for that. He was preparing himself for the war, and he succeeded, and he was confident to defeat the whole Kaurava army single-handedly. And in fact, he did it on some occasion before the Mahabharata war. So that was skill. That was the kind of skill which he aimed for, and he got it. But is Sri Krishna telling Arjuna, when he says yoga karmasu kaushalam? Kaushalam means dexterity, to perform something that you excel in, and to do the best you can in that particular skill, is known as kaushala. That is how it is normally understood. But if you see the great commentators on Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta, they say that is not skill. The skill, real skill, is in separating yourself from this gross existence and not get trapped in the mess that we call this world. That is the definition Shankaracharya clearly says. Now, why do we call it a mess? Why does Bhagwan Buddha say this world is full of suffering? Is it not a pessimistic attitude? We see the world is so beautiful. Everything seems to be beautiful when things are going right. When everything is going according to your plan, everything is fine. Then we don't want any kind of higher possibility. We don't even bother to explore the higher possibilities because they are irrelevant to us. As long as I become skilled in my profession and attain to the goal I have set for myself, that's fine. And there's nothing wrong in that, because when a person has limited ambitions or limited understanding of his own possibility, he is happy with whatever he gets. For example, somebody wants to play football. Maybe his goal is to become a member of a league group or league club. He may not aspire even to play for the country. That doesn't mean that everybody has to aspire, and they will explore the possibility and they may reach that possibility also, playing for the national team. Even then, they may not be happy because they may feel we should be known as the best footballers in the world, at least counted among the best. So the goals you set for yourself, or everybody fixes his own possibilities. And Vedanta says that is the fundamental mistake. Have you explored all the possibilities? Use your rationality, use your logic, Use the thinking capacity that God has given you, and listen. More important than that is to listen to the wise people of the past. They are not fools. The great prophets are not fools. The Bhagavad Gita and the people who wrote, even today, it has some relevance. Maybe it's not relevant to me because I'm better off without those things. But we can't just dismiss it. Just because I cannot become the best footballer in the world, that doesn't mean my goal of becoming the best footballer in my particular club doesn't mean that that is the end of your journey. So that is exactly what Vedanta says. And Sri Ramakrishna also, in his very, very simple way, I like this example so much that he says, he always says in Bengali, he said, Egiye jao, means go forward, just go forward. So there was this woodcutter. You have heard this story, but I'm repeating it again. It's a very, very relevant story. Why Vedanta says your possibilities of your personality are never exhausted. There are some things you have not yet explored. Just because you have not explored it, that doesn't mean the possibilities don't exist. So he says a woodcutter was cutting a lot of wood in a forest and he made a lot of money. Then one person, a wise person who is to always travel, he said, go forward. Then he thought, maybe this wise man is talking sense. Let me just explore. Then he comes across a wonderful sandalwood forest. And of course, he makes more money. And then that same woodcutter, he crosses the path almost every day. So after a few days, they cross their paths. And the woodcutter is, again, he repeats the same thing. He doesn't tell him anything else, just says, go forward. So it says, maybe see, now I've gone forward and got this wonderful treasure of sandalwood, which is earning me more money. So he goes and he finds a beautiful place where he gets a lot of silver, gold, and other things. But still, that gentleman, and he becomes very rich. And the woodcutter doesn't have to cut wood anymore and struggle for a living. He's become very rich. So he's collecting all these precious metals from that deep, because he has gone forward. Then he says, don't go forward. Then he says, let me explore. Then he finds a diamond mine. So that's the story. In short, we should not be satisfied with the status quo. That is what Vedanta says. In Rig Veda, there is a beautiful verse, Chare Veti, Chara eva iti. Chara means to walk. Just go on walking. In Bengali, there is that famous song, Ekla Chalo Re. Mane, you just walk, whether people come with you or not, you just keep walking. That's the idea. Chare Veti, Chare Veti. That is what the Guru tells the disciple. Just don't stop thinking this is the end of the road. Just go on walking and you will see so many possibilities will be explored. So here he says, we just come to the verse that we were discussing. It was the verse Satyameva Jayate. As I said, that is the motto of our Indian Constitution. Of course, they are quoting only the first two words. Satyameva Jayate Nanritam means not untruth. Truth alone triumphs. But unfortunately, the whole verse is not taken as a motto. You just can't quote a part of it. Very clearly says, Satyameva Jayate Nanritam. Untruth never survives. Truth alone triumphs. That may be sufficient. The other part is understood. But then the next part of the sentence is very important in this Upanishad. Truth alone triumphs, Satyameva Jayate. It's fine as a quote. Truth alone triumphs. What do you mean by truth? Is it just speaking the truth that we triumph? Here, truth means reality, the exploration of all the possibilities that we could possibly explore within ourselves and get fulfilled. That is the idea. So truth alone triumphs and not untruth. Untruth means, what does untruth means? People trivialize this statement and say untruth means speaking untruth, telling what you think, telling an untruth or lying. That is what people normally translate. Don't speak untruth, just speak the truth and you will reach the goal. No, that is not what it means. Satyam, Sat means existence, that which does not change. And non-rhythm, rhythm is the cosmic order normally. It is something which is against truth, means against the cosmic order that the whole world is based on. So there are certain things like the principle of gravity. You can't just go on the top of the building and say, I don't believe in gravity. You just jump down and then you know what the consequences are. Whether you believe in it or not, it rarely matters because these are eternal truths. So scriptures also say there are certain things which do not change. No matter whether you are a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, or any human being, there are certain things which represent truth, which represent eternal values, the eternal values which stand for something which is not destroyed, which is not temporary. So he says, truth alone triumphs, satyameva jayate, means only truth triumphs, only that which is eternally true, eternally conscious, which does not change. That alone survives, all other things are destroyed. Time destroys everything. So Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am Kala. When he shows the Vishwarupa, he says, Kalo Asmi, Kalaha Asmi, means I am the great leveler, the time. As nobody can stand against your destiny. I mean, there is a time which is going on. You may wish to become immortal in this very world and wish not to get old or wish to live a long and healthy life. But time somehow catches with you. Maybe 100 years, but it will catch up with you. That's the idea. So Kala cannot be, time cannot be your eternal. It cannot be truth. It is a relative truth, but still it is true as long as you live. So not untruth will never survive. So anything that changes in this universe, that is the fundamental premise of our Vedanta, that whatever is permanent, whatever is eternal, that is Sat. Not just speaking the truth or thinking about the truth, but speaking truth is a path. It's one of the methods which help you to reach that ultimate truth. So truth alone triumphs, not untruth. By truth is spread out the path, Devayana. Satyena Pantha Vitato. This is the verse we discussed last time. Satyena Pantha. Pantha means path. Vitato Devayana, the way of the gods. Gods means a superior path, not the way of ordinary human beings. By which seers free from all desires. That is another condition. You see, the truth is not so difficult to understand, difficult to attain. He says, this is the path, the noble path, which the seers pursue, free from all desires. When they speak of desires, the desire to become free is not considered to be a desire. In Vedanta, they say the desire to be free is not a desire. That desire which binds you somehow and tries to crush you. When Swami Vivekananda was asked by the Maharaj of Mysore, he said, can you define life for me in a very, maybe one or two sentences? What is life? I'm very keen to know. So the answer which he gave is based on this verse. He says, life is a unfoldment of a being. That means that we are exploring the human possibilities. We have to unfold. There are many things which have been covered in our personality. We have to unfold it. So he told the king, Mysore Maharaja, that life, such a beautiful definition of life, is an unfoldment of a human being or a being, any being, trying to unfoldment of a being under circumstances that are trying to press him or her down. So you find that in this world, there is always this conflict going on. Circumstances are always trying to press you down. Whether you are an animal, plant, its survival itself becomes difficult, and the whole Prakriti or the whole nature, you will find everybody is struggling for some kind of survival. Some may struggle just for physical survival. Some may want to struggle for mental monopoly or others, or developing mental skills. So there are different kinds of struggle. A rich person, a person who aspires to be rich, he may be struggling to become the wealthiest person. So each one is struggling, and in that process, there are circumstances around him which trying to press him down. So the idea of life, a general definition of life, has to be studied in this context. So seers free from all desires. Why these desires are harmful, that is explaining. Proceed there to where there is the supreme abode of truth. Yatra tat satyasya paramam nidhanam, where the ultimate truth or ultimate peace, the place where we all should aspire. Maybe our training now doesn't permit us to even aspire for that thing. To reach is a different thing. But if we have a goal, if you don't, they say if you aim at the sky, at least you may reach the top of the tree, or maybe you can reach somewhere. But if you aim at the tree, there's no hope of reaching the sky. So that's why they say, Yatra tat satyasya paramam nidhanam, that permanent abode of truth, that is the sat that is spoken of, not just speaking the truth. So satyameva jayate in our constitution, though people perhaps do not understand the true significance, they say satyameva jayate, truth alone triumphs. This is the truth that is spoken of. Because there is no defeat, there is no power in the world to deny or to suppress or to create circumstances that can press you down anymore. Here I am reminded of that wonderful story which Swami Vivekananda quotes. He meets a monk, perhaps he was a Jain monk or he was somewhere in India. He had heard there is a fearless monk living on the top of a hill. So Alexander was very keen. His conquest was not just, whenever he thought there is some greatness, he wanted those people to take those people to Greece in his, so that they can, he perhaps thought that all people can be bought by money. That is how Akbar also had in his court. Tansen was a great musician. But unfortunately, when he found that his guru is far more superior than Tansen, then naturally, as kings want to use that power, money and everything to, he said, okay, then I would definitely like him to also sing in my court. But he didn't realize that Tansen's guru was not at all interested in money, wealth, power, name and fame. He was happy to sing in the temple. That is the tradition. He said, I sing only for God. Tansen went. He said, the king, the emperor of India is keen. Akbar himself is keen. So he says, go and tell him, I'm not going to come. I don't want to go sing anywhere except. So there are some people who don't care. They don't care for even these emperors. So similarly, and then finally the story goes, Akbar himself disguised. And in fact, he said Akbar wants to come. Then he said if he wants to come, then he can come as a simple person. I don't want any disturbance here. So that was the greatness, that was the self-confidence, or that is known as holding on to truth, because they believe in the highest value and they use their skills or their possibilities to reach the highest. So the story goes, Akbar had to disguise himself as a very ordinary person and go with Tansen and listen to the guru of Tansen in that temple, where he said, I sing only before the God. So then he was so much keen, and he always dreamt that the best people, which the best, wisest person, the wisest musician, he called them Navaratna. There were 9 people in his court who were the best among the species in that particular profession. So he had them, but somehow he could not convince the guru of Tansen to go. Similarly, this Jain monk, after conquering, some people say he could not conquer the whole of India, but he was exhausted and the soldiers were about to go. Then he thought, let me take, India is famous for these wise monks and men. Let me take one with us so that Greece will benefit. So he was trying to force his generals to go and look for that person and ask him if he, everybody, any person would have considered it to be an honor to go, and because Greece was ruling the whole of, I mean, a major portion of the earth. He had conquered so many countries. So anybody would have been very happy to adorn the court of Alexander. But he simply said, I'm not at all, I don't need any kind of recognition, or I don't want to go there. And that made Alexander very angry. Then he said, no, just try to, he said, threaten him and say that if you don't come with me, you will be killed. So then that monk, they say, that's how Swami Vivekananda quotes, that he started laughing very loudly. And he said, oh, your emperor can kill me, let him try. What he meant was, you can't kill the spirit. Then he explained what he meant. He said, at the most you can kill this body, but that will not, I am not going to bow down to his threats. So just as Jesus said when he was crucified, that they are crucifying the body. The spirit can never be killed. So that's how Sri Krishna explains to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita that the spirit can never be killed. So that holding on to that spirit, holding on to that truth, that is what constitutes the highest possibility. That is why this verse, Satyameva Jayate Nanritam Satyena Pantha Vitato Devayanaha, and then Yatra Tat Satyasya Paramam Nidhanam, that one proceeds to that place which is known as truth, Sat, which is the supreme abode of truth. It's not truth, but it's the supreme abode, the place where everybody should desire to go. And in that path, the path, Devayana, that path, noble path, you will encounter many difficulties, but you have to traverse that path and reach that supreme goal. So you should not stop till you reach that goal. That's the idea. And that alone will make you fulfilled. So when the growing awareness, now the question is asked, after discussing these words, we come to the next topic now. What exactly happens when this possibility of human life is explored? When this growing awareness comes that there is a spiritual self, which I have to somehow touch or somehow reach, that, because that is, the Upanishads very clearly says, Satyameva Jayate, only truth triumphs. So I should explore this idea of the truth that the scriptures speak of. What is that truth that makes me invincible, that gives me that courage, as that monk who told Alexander, who did not even bother, did not even fear the threats. Because in our life, the main thing that prevents us from expressing our possibilities is fear. Fear of failing, fear of not succeeding, maybe in our small tasks. But the ultimate fear, according to Swamiji, is the fear of death. So when the fear of death comes, we avoid doing things which we think might threaten the existence of the physical body. But those who are following this path, they think it's a trivial thing. Bodies are temporary, they'll come and go, but the spirit remains eternal. But to get that feeling, or to get that conviction, to develop that Shraddha, you have to follow the path of Devayana, as he says. Now, this awareness can be achieved, or awareness can be, that is one possibility that we are exploring, that we have to create that awareness, make that awareness firm in our own life. Slowly, it's not an overnight development. Just as you may want to become a great boxer, but unless you practice for hours and hours, so much people struggle to just excel in a small field like boxing or football or something. So much of Sacrifice is involved in that. You just don't become a excellent footballer in one day. You have to struggle for years and years. So also this growing awareness, it doesn't come in a day. We forget. We get the struggle or the circumstances force us, they press us down. And then the spirit within says, no, I am not going to be cowed down by these circumstances. They may be detrimental to my progress, but I'll struggle. So that struggle itself is a path of Devayana. We proceed, as Sri Ramakrishna said, just go forward. We have reached this goal, okay, but I am not going to be satisfied. I have to push forward. So also in spiritual life, till you have that growing awareness of the self, which you want to attain, which is the goal of, which is the ultimate possibility that you have to explore and attain. So when that person, Vedanta says, recognizes himself, his real nature, which is invincible, which Jesus, when he was crucified, when he said, I am the king, they thought he is claiming that he is a king. So the emperors felt threatened. Oh, he has such a huge following. Maybe he wants to proclaim himself as the king. His popularity, people may. But they were so ignorant, they didn't know what was the kingdom he was speaking of. What was the kingdom he came to rule? That kingdom was the kingdom of the spirit. That's what all the Upanishads, all the scriptures say, that the kingdom is the kingdom of the spirit. That is the highest kingdom, which is so difficult to attain. To own a certain, have control over certain people and certain territory is not the goal. So this growing awareness of the self, the more aware you are of your true nature as a person, when we call ourselves a human personality, have we realized our true nature, or are we still identifying ourselves with our skills and with our little roles? For us, it may be great, but those roles are trivial. Our achievements, we may think we have achieved so many things in life. Maybe there are many people who have underachieved, and compared to them, we may be great, but there will always be somebody who has achieved more than us. So there's no end to this rat race. Somehow you have to find out what is the ultimate goal that I have to attain. So he says, the Upanishad says, when he recognizes his real nature as pure in the sense not gross, free and immortal. Immortality is something which we wish to have, but we fail short of that. No person who has not realized the end of Vedanta, or we can say that he has got rid of the fear of death. He may say that this way leads to immortality, but has he reached that level? So he is at the same time, he says, when he is practicing, one of the fundamental mistakes we make is we think ignorantly that we are going to reach that immortality. Some people ask, oh, is that person or this person a realized soul? Has he touched the immortality? And we are always seeking. But that doesn't happen that way. The moment, the Upanishad says, the moment you recognize yourself as pure, free and immortal, slowly you will directly or indirectly superimpose the same quality in others. So he gradually recognizes the real nature, real, not the apparent, what is seen. Because you will find most of us, even ourselves, we do not live up to that highest ideal. But a person who is in search of this truth, he will always feel that that same divinity is there in the other person. Only thing, there is a thick layer of ignorance. So though now he is not able to manifest it, for that reason we should not trivialize that or maybe criticize that person, because underlying if I am divine, the same spirit is all pervading. No doubt it is difficult, but The Upanishad, the Vedanta says, when you are exploring this possibility, you have to always think that you cannot isolate yourself from this universe. That is why Swami Vivekananda, when he was sitting under that tree in Almora, his brother Akhandananji was sitting nearby. He suddenly shouted, I have discovered a great truth. Not just because he read something somewhere, he discovered through his own experience. So he said the microcosm and the macrocosm, the whole universe, they are connected by the same principle. And I really realized that today. And he was so happy for the next few days. He said they are built on the same principle. So you can't say whatever you do, it doesn't not only impact the person next to you or in your family or in your society, it impacts the whole world. That is why after this realization, Swami Vivekananda said, every atom in this universe, it literally drags the whole universe with it. So you can't think in isolation, you can't live in isolation, though you may avoid people, you may go into yourself, but still mentally you are connected. So when you set that right, when you touch the spirit, you are touching the spirit in other people. That is what happens. So he says, consequently, the Upanishad says, he deals with his fellow beings with some kind of regard, irrespective of how they behave. It may be a very difficult thing, but one has to remember that this is the truth. We may not understand it now, but as we progress in spiritual life, that broad, all-inclusive attitude comes in a person. And he tries to see, may not see it like Sri Ramakrishna saw. He could not, sometimes Holy Mother could not see anybody's faults. Everybody was wondering, how can Mother say like that? We, every day and night, we see the faults of others. But towards the end of her life, she said, if you want peace of mind, don't see the faults of others. Perhaps the disciple was confused. How does Mother attain to this? How can we not see the faults of others? What she meant was, don't be preoccupied if you want peace of mind. Because, you see, after all, it harms. So that all-inclusive attitude is one of the possibilities that we have to explore. It's not that I think that my soul is pure and others' soul are impure. Because if by the very definition of the Vedantic truths, if our soul, which is connected to the universal soul, is pure, then it implies indirectly that other souls are pure. But just as I am covered with a certain kind of ignorance, which is not allowing me to think of myself and explore the highest possibility that I can attain, I should give the same concession to the other person. He may be more ignorant, he may be more gross in his approach to life, he may have little interest. But as Holy Mother said, Sri Ma Sharda Devi said, my mother has several children. Some of them are grown, some of them are yet to grow. For that reason, she doesn't love somebody more or somebody less, just because he is ignorant and he is not able to do things which the elder child does. So that universal love, that recognition of the universal spirit within automatically implies that you have to, at some stage of your progress, you have to recognize that universal spirit in others. So our self-interest. Now, when you come, this may be an ideal which we are trying to reach, but what are the implications for today if I have to use it in my day-to-day life? So at least one thing could be done. That is what Vedanta says. My self-interest has to become harmonized with the self-interest of others. So I have to give, if I like or dislike certain things, then I have no right to tell that somebody else also should have the same likes and dislikes. I have to give the same freedom to others. That is how adjustment takes place. So that is known as the cosmic order. So here rhythm means non-rhythm, not by disturbing the cosmic order. So there is a cosmic order which Jewish religion and Abrahamic religion, they call commandments of God. See, we recently had a very big meeting where people were discussing about the climate change. So everybody is shouting climate change, but who will do it? I create pollution and blame the others. Everybody is blaming each other. Big countries who want to be prosperous, they're saying, asking the poor countries to not burn fuel, and they say we have to make progress. How can you have become industrialized, you have become rich, and you expect us not to do? That means my self-interest I will preserve, and you have to stop polluting the earth. So that is the idea of climate change which people have. So there was a meeting which was supposed to be held in Egypt on the sidelines of the COP27. That was attended by political, but there was a religious section where different religious faiths said, we let us find out what our teachers or our prophets have said about, or our scriptures have said about climate change. How can we live in harmony? So here the answer is given that if my self-interest is harmonized with the social and self-interest of other people, not only human beings, even the planet, even the trees. There's a beautiful book, I forgot the name of, in 11th century in Iraq, there are the Sufi saints. So a small group, mostly they were women. Sufi, they gave a lot of importance to women, unlike traditional Islam. So some women saints wrote a beautiful, it's a parable, it's not a parable, it's a tale, collection of stories. So I accidentally came across that book. He says, suppose tomorrow, just as we go to court when somebody is disobeying the rules, animals and plants, animals, not plants, animals decide to go to the court and say that here are human beings, they are mercilessly killing us, they are exploiting us, and I want to complain, or maybe they are going to the judge. That's how the story goes. It's a very interesting book, translated into many languages. So these Sufi saints said, why do you think that human beings have a privilege? In fact, some of the scriptures, I'm not saying the scriptures, but the wrong reading of the scriptures say that this world was made for man's pleasure. That means he can plunder, he can kill, he can do whatever he likes. But see, from the point of view of the animal or the trees, they are not competing with you, they are leading their own life. So we have to try to minimize. Of course, we can't survive. They also survive on us, we survive on them. Animals have to kill other animals just to survive. But they don't break the cosmic law. They eat only what they want. They just are happy with survival. But human being has this desire, that free from all desire. So he says, apta kama means one whose desires have been fulfilled. So as Mahatma Gandhi said, the problem in the world is there is enough in this world for everybody's need. What I need, there is enough if I am satisfied. The problem is my greed. So that is how the desires come. So if human being thinks that, animals don't think like that, they don't hoard what they don't need. But it's only the human beings in their greed to grab more and more things for themselves, breaking the cosmic order. That is what this verse is. This cosmic order, rhythm, if it is broken, you have to bear the consequences. And nature has a very powerful way of taking its revenge. Swamiji says, you may grab whatever you like from nature, but a day will come when nature will grab your throat, and whatever you have grabbed, you have to let it go. He says, nature's rules are unrelenting. That is what rhythm means here. The cosmic order, if non-rhythms, it will not survive. There will be wars, there will be problems if the greed increases. So it's in the interest of ourselves that we have to respect the interests of others. That is what is meant here, that our self-interest is important for us, but at the same time we have to have some kind of respect for the other self-interest. Just as we want to be what we aim to be, others also have that desire. So you can't always come in conflict with other people. So far from, you will see the person, you can't force ethics. That is what I told, that for you it may be obeying the laws of what Moses, they are known as covenants. Covenants are under some kind of arrangement. You know, when you sign a covenant, it means you agree to certain principles, terms and conditions. So also they believe that God has, I mean, God in the sense, whoever gave the revelation to Moses, the Jews believe that there is a covenant, like the famous principles, even Bible, the Sermon on the Mount, the most of these, most of these, what you call those things, the 10 Commandments, they are certain rules which everybody has to follow. And following those, breaking, so it is something like what Vedas say, Ritam. We don't write those rules. We follow a simple principle that our self-interest has to be harmonized with the cosmic order to the extent we can. What we really don't need, we don't have to grab it at the expense of others. That's the idea. So that ethical life can be inspired only if you have a spiritual outlook. When you are searching for your inner consciousness, it is only at the level of spirit that we are all equal. As human beings, there are gender differences, there are skill differences. Every human being is different. Every human being has his own likes and dislikes. So you can never have a harmony. You can't force a person, I like this, you also have to like. Communists tried to do that. Communists thought that if everybody behaves and everything is done in the same way, then there will be a peaceful society. But unfortunately, they could not understand that it is not possible. Diversity is the very nature of life. But the only condition Vedas say that in that diversity you have to see the unity. How to see that unity? Diversity doesn't mean you have special privileges. Because you are good in one thing, you don't have a special privilege as a human being over others who doesn't have that thing. That is what true democratic spirit or true spiritual unity, the unified consciousness, that Vedanta says, no matter how much you struggle, you can't put the same coat to all the people. Everybody's size is different. Same coat will never to fit all. Everybody has his size cut, and he has to wear that coat to be comfortable. So also in this, the diversities are absolutely necessary. Not only necessary, they are there. Diversity will be there. Even within the family, there will be diversity. So then how can we have any kind of unity, whether it is family, society, or neighborhood? So the inner consciousness as spirit, we are unified. When Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you, he talked of that spirit which unified. And when he had touched that, he really did not bother to him whether his body was crucified or not. So also Sri Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita that you are not going, I mean, these things are a consequence of the karma, and the wars will be fought and people will die, some good people will die, bad people will die. Everything will happen, but it will not affect the spirit. And the only way to reconcile everybody in this, everybody seems to be blaming the other. We can't blame others. We are part of the cosmos. If there is some problem, it is a problem of self-identity. Because most of the people are not exploring their true possibility, the true identity, the true spiritual self, which Vedanta says. And when you do that, you are explored. That's why we have named this talk as Vedanta is the science of human possibilities. So when you talk of human possibilities, don't just think of physical possibilities, mental possibilities, skill possibilities, professional possibilities. They are good at a particular level. But what after that? Are we to stop at a certain stage thinking that I had a small goal in life, I have achieved that, now I'll relax? No, that's not what he says. This Supreme Self, when you realize that identity, whether you call it nirvana, whether you call it moksha or salvation, every scripture, every wise prophet, every wise person who has explored all the possibilities, they say don't stop, otherwise there will be misery. You can be safe when you touch that possibility. It may be far off from us now, right now, but that doesn't mean we have to lower our goal. That goal should be there. So as when he realizes this unity, that same essential unity, Supreme Self is all pervading, he finds that he cannot confine himself with his own psychophysical system. We have a physical system, we have a mind, we are imprisoned in that. But the true spiritual yearning is trying to overcome that. Said, I am not just the body. I am the body. Definitely, I am the body and my mind. I have an identity. I have a job to do. I have a profession to follow. Everything is fine. But that is not me. The one which I should be seeking is something higher. And the more we emphasize this point, the more our life becomes harmonious. That is what this Devayana, the path of Devayana means. The spiritual self says, unless you reach the truth, unless you experience a harmony with the cosmic order, if you stop in between, you will find that you will be miserable. So circumstances will always press you down because we are at the lower levels. Every time you overcome certain pressure on you, circumstances, through struggle you try to overcome it. Many times you may fail. Many times, as Swamiji said, I have learned so much from my pain than pleasures. Pleasures did not teach me anything. He says, in my life, many things were very comfortable. Of course, unfortunately, in his life, he didn't have time. So if you see the whole life of 39 years, there was more pain than pleasure. He hardly had time to even stay. In fact, one of the Maharajas of Limdi, where he stayed for about 10 days, he was a very enlightened, he was a civil engineer educated in France. A beautiful town he had built in those days. So he said, see, I'll give you a whole house. Why don't you come and read? Because he was also a lover of books. And he found Swamiji also loved books. He said, Swamiji, when you retire, he thought Swamiji will retire. So he said, when you retire, you come and stay in one of these houses. I'll give you. There was a huge library. In fact, Swamiji liked to use that library. He said, when you retire, you please come and stay here. Spend the, people always plan, not knowing whether they will really be able to retire or they will die in harness. We don't know. That is that uncertainty in life. But Swamiji just laughed and said, yes, definitely. If I retire, I will come and stay with you. But leave alone retiring, he was hardly 39. So what Vedanta conveys is, unless you reach the limit of the possibilities that you can achieve in this life, everybody may not achieve in this life. Like Swami Vivekananda and all, they were divinely ordained people who very quickly passed through all the struggles. They had that tremendous capacity. They could overcome diseases, they could overcome sickness, they could overcome the torture that they got from people, evil-minded people. What a kind of struggle he had in America. The day he landed, there were enemies all around. Missionaries who belonged to different faiths, some of his own countrymen, out of jealousy, trying to put him down. Comes to England, some of the disciples betray him. But anyway, he had no time even to think of them, because his goal was clear. The possibilities that he wanted to attain by the grace of his guru, he had attained long ago, but he was trying to fulfill that mission, try to spread those ideas to people who could really understand them. So that is how he came, visited England 3 times, tried to preach that ideal of Vedanta, explaining to people that this is the urgency, this is what our scriptures say. Till then, all your development, all your empowerment, all the big things that you talk in society, that society will be a very place where everybody will live in, it's all empty dream. In fact, he predicted the two world wars. In 1900, he said, the whole of Europe is sitting on the top of a volcano, and unless it mends its ways and holds on to spiritual values, there will be, the whole volcano will burst. People didn't realize, he spoke to his disciples, all these things are recorded in 1900. And the two world wars were just like volcanoes. They killed so many people in the whole European continent. And he gave that warning that unless we try to live to our full potential, unless we explore all the possibilities, we are going to suffer. So it's time is over. So if there are some questions I can answer, but I think it may not be. Oh, Rafael, where are you, Rafael? You could have come here. We are very near place where you stay. Anyway, you have asked a question. I'll quickly answer. Is it good to practice tapasya, such as Ekadashi, to contribute to cosmic harmony and advance in spiritual life? What is the right mental attitude during fasting? Yeah, this fasting and all, these are all means and methods. See, everything may not suit everybody, but in general, this tapasya, which is spoken of in our scriptures, has one goal in life: to have more and more control over your own life. So why do we fast? We fast because our natural tendency is to, whenever we see something that we like, just to pop it in our mouth. So if that is going to happen, then we will have very little control, and then that leads to further complications. So the main goal of tapasya, if it is understood, fasting like Ekadashi, there may be certain reasons. People go into great detail why we should fast on Ekadashi, why not on other days. That is a debatable question. We don't have to go deep into that. But any date, any day where you can exercise a little amount of self-control increases your willpower. So they say human beings have three powers, mainly four powers actually, but three powers of the mind. One is thinking. So thinking can be developed by thoughts, good thoughts, regular thoughts. And the power of emotion or feeling, which can be through devotional songs and through prayer, it can be enhanced or it can be developed. There is another power which is known as power of will. Most of the time, it is the willpower which we lack. We have very good intentions, we have very good thoughts, but tapasya, or in this case, fasting is one tapasya. There can be many types of tapasya. That I'll deny it. Self-denial is not for the sake so that people will appreciate you, that I don't eat this, I don't eat that. It's not for, it is just for getting that, developing that right willpower, saying that if I can do this, I can do higher things. So in that context, tapasya is okay. Tapasya should be viewed, and it is good. But whether it is good for you, that depends on your health condition. How much will it help you? That's entirely a personal thing. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.